Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest TMA virtual briefing, previewing the 2023 legislative session of the Illinois General Assembly. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's Government Affairs Consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. We're joined by TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin, as well as two special guests, State Senator Jason Plummer and State Representative Tim Ozinga. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Great. We're going to spend the next half hour discussing the outlook for legislative action in the Illinois House and Senate in the coming year, its potential impact on TMA members, and a new TMA initiative to pull together legislators to advocate on behalf of Illinois' small and mid-sized manufacturers. Now, I'll turn it over to TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin, who will introduce our special guests and get their thoughts on the upcoming session of the Illinois General Assembly. At the end of the program, TMA members will have an opportunity to ask written questions of Senator Plummer and Representative Ozinga by typing them into the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. The floor is yours, David.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich. It's good to be with you, and it's good to be with TMA members as we look forward to a new year in manufacturing. I'm proud to lobby at the state capitol for our TMA members because you are the backbone of the state's economy. And at the state capitol, as you can imagine, there are many issues. They run from A to Z. At TMA, we decided to bring the best and brightest minds of the legislature together so we could focus on just the small and mid-sized manufacturer issues, the things that you deal with on a daily basis. So we reached out to Representative Tim Ozinga and Senator Jason Plummer, and they've agreed to be chairs of a new manufacturing caucus. They're highly respected members of the General Assembly. They come with a great deal of business background and a lot of manufacturing know-how. So we're lucky to have them co-chair this caucus. And what that means is that there are representatives and senators from around the state who will come together under the Capitol Dome from time to time while they're in session and speak about your issues only, trade ideas on what they could do to make your lives better. Maybe that'll be legislation that'll address your problems. Maybe that'll be cutting red tape. Maybe it'll be just a megaphone to address your issues on the Capitol floor. So we're real lucky to have them today. And I'd like to ask them a few questions, and then we'll throw it back to Rich. If you have any questions, we can take it from there. Senator Plummer and then Representative Ozinga, now that the dust has settled from the election, what do you see in the new General Assembly on the horizon? Can you give us your thoughts on what issues might be facing small and mid-sized manufacturers in the Illinois General Assembly, whether they're good or bad issues? We'd like to hear your take on what you think the Illinois General Assembly is going to be working on this year.
No, thank you. I appreciate, David, the opportunity to speak, and thank you to the folks that are attending today. I'm Jason Plummer, State Senator, and I'm out of Edwardsville, so the 54th State Senate District. And, I really think the election, unfortunately, in Illinois, speaking specifically to Illinois, probably sent a signal to the majority party that the status quo is acceptable. And I find that a little bit troubling. In the House, the Republicans lost seats. In the Senate, we did pick up a seat, but we should have done better. I come from a business background. I come from a manufacturing background. We operate a smaller, medium-sized manufacturing facility, two of them actually, here in Illinois, one up in the DeKalb area and one in the Springfield area. So, I'm not just speaking to the members. I deal with the same issues they deal with on a daily basis. And, Springfield is a difficult place right now for the business community in manufacturing or other areas of business. And I think that status quo message that the election probably sent to some folks in Springfield is probably the biggest barrier that we have right now, because we have real problems in Illinois from a business standpoint, from attracting capital, from attracting people standpoint. And, when I sit down with business leaders, when I sit down to business people in my district, the issues that they always bring up, whether it's workers' comp, whether it's regulatory issues, whether it's the tort environment, especially some manufacturers really feel penalized by that system here in Illinois. When we go to Springfield, we try to fight that stuff. When we have elections like we just had, and the folks that are less incentivized to make positive changes in those areas, take away from that a message that status quo is acceptable, we've got a real problem, because the business community in Illinois knows that status quo isn't acceptable. We continue to lose businesses, we continue to lose jobs, and that's really what we're focused on turning around in Springfield. So it's a bit of an uphill climb, but I am pretty optimistic that we've had leadership changes in the Senate, and I think we're going to have an opportunity to have more success in the Senate, and really hopefully change the nature of that caucus right now, and change the nature of the mindset in the Senate, putting business first, and sitting down with John Curtin, our new state Senate leader for the Republican caucus. We have prioritized small and business positive reform for small and medium-sized businesses, and you're going to see us roll out a package here in about 45 days that I think your membership will really like, David.
Oh, great. Representative Ozinga?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'll just echo what Senator Plummer said, but I'm also from mid-sized business, so we manufacture and deliver building materials. Being in business, I know, like you, the challenges that are facing our state, and we operate in multiple states, so we see firsthand what it's like to do business in a state like Illinois versus a neighboring state like Indiana, and the different challenges that we face there. Senator Plummer hit on things like workman's comp and other issues, starkly different. But looking forward to 2023, as the dust settles here, I think we had a tough election cycle, as the senator mentioned, but at the same time, there's reasons for hope. There's reasons for optimism. We do have new leadership in the House as well as the Senate. And I think an opportunity to start taking a more proactive approach in terms of our policy agenda down in Springfield. We also are looking at a season here where we have a budget surplus, which I think is a good thing for business. There's not this exercise going around where we're trying to figure out how to make up a budget shortfall. So that makes me feel more comfortable as a business owner that they're not going to be coming to us trying to figure out how to solve their problems. So I think there's optimism in that regard. I think we're seeing an expansion of some of the business incentive programs, like the Edge credit, the REV program, other things like that I think could be a positive thing to move us forward. And I think some of the other things that are kind of top of mind in terms of session coming up in January as well, maybe on the not little bit of positive, a little bit of negative, but unemployment insurance trust was there's a proposal to fund that, which is good, but also something to be aware of business owners wise in terms of that UI it's just something to plan ahead for, because that program is going to change a little bit for businesses. So outside of that, I think on our caucus on the Republican side, I think, it's like in sports, you have rebuilding years, and that's where we're at now. It's an opportunity for new leadership. It's an opportunity for new growth. And I think oftentimes a lot of the legislation and policy is geared towards large businesses. But and we know that small and mid-sized businesses make up the most amount of jobs and are the biggest driver to the economy. And so I was excited when David put this together, because I think it's up to us as small and mid-sized businesses to really be a voice. In order to do that, we need to build a coalition and make sure that our voice is heard. And I think this is going to be an opportunity to do that. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Great. Hey, I'd like to ask another question. What's the regarding the manufacturing caucus, this new caucus? How can that help Senator Plummer and then Representative Ozinga? If you want to take a break here, Representative Ozinga, but how will that help you in your deliberations at the Capitol? How will that help you in talking to members on both sides of the aisle about the issues that small and mid-sized manufacturers face?
Well, I think, great question, David. I think Tim just hit on one thing, and that is a lot of the business organizations that lobby right now in Springfield do seem focused on the Caterpillars and the Boeings and the Walgreens of the world, right? And those are, important businesses, great businesses. They do a lot of great for Illinoisans, but ultimately the businesses that drive, job growth, the businesses that drive the economy in Illinois are small, medium-sized businesses. And so you putting a platform like this together that provides a voice for small, medium-sized manufacturers. And, when you, quit talking about business and you actually go to specific industries, I mean, your two biggest industries in Illinois are probably ag and manufacturing, right? So to have small, medium-sized businesses from one of the, if not the most important industry, top two industry in the state is very, very important. And I think it will be influential. I've talked to David about making sure that, more Republicans become part of this, but also that we bring some Democrats on board on this as well. Because if we are going to find policy solutions in Springfield, just by the nature of the makeup of the caucuses or of the chambers right now, it's going to have to be bipartisan solutions. And I'm very committed to, I don't care who gets the credit for something. I don't care. It's very common in Springfield, Republicans being in the minority, that, we will file legislation and it never sees the light of day. But sometimes someone in the majority party will see one of our bills that we filed and like it. And so ours will never see the light of day. And then magically next session, our bill will appear under someone else's name and it'll pass. And you know what? Some people get really frustrated about that. I don't care, because if it was our idea and if it was good policy and it passes, I don't care who gets the credit for it as long as good policy goes into law. And so I'm committed to making sure that, we have a bipartisan group of legislators committed to making Illinois a better place for small, medium-sized manufacturers and small, medium-sized businesses and other industries. So that's really my focus. And I think that we'll find this organization will be a real asset to making sure policy gets across the finish line.
Great. Representative Ozinga?
Yeah, I think Senator Plummer hit the nail on the head, so I'm not going to repeat anything that he said. But for us, in the state legislature, we're here to serve and we're here to learn. And so another just exciting part about having the opportunity to put this caucus together is the opportunity to learn from you, learn from the members, and understand specific challenges that are facing the members. So I'm excited about that opportunity. Jason and I know from our particular industries some of the challenges that we face, but I know that you have certain situations that you're facing in your industry, in your business, in your particular niche. And so I think this is an opportunity to really surface those things and make sure that we're keeping a finger on the pulse. I know when I'm down in Springfield, David's down there fighting on your behalf, and when stuff comes down the line that is concerning, you have somebody down here that's pulling us aside and saying, hey, you need to look out for this. You need to make sure they address this. But in order to do that, we need organizations like your association and people like your members kind of keeping us in the loop in terms of things. We get in the heat of things, there's lots of bills and lots of legislation that's getting pushed through the pipeline. And so it's just really important that we're all working together and paying attention, and that we can be that voice for the small and mid-sized businesses. So I'm excited about that.
Great. Thanks a lot. We'll turn it back over to Rich. Rich, if you've got any questions for the members, for the senator and the representative, we can go with those now. So, Rich.
Sounds great. Thanks, David. Let's get right into it. As I mentioned earlier, for those of you on your computers or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question and submit it through the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. I'll read the questions and ask our special guest to answer them. We do have a question regarding the manufacturing caucus from a member that just came in. The question is, and I'll go to you first, Senator Plummer. As part of the manufacturing caucus, what initiatives do you foresee to propose to assist us with? Specifically, any legislation regarding programs for hiring, educational training programs in high school, et cetera? Senator?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the question. If you look at my time in the Senate, you can look at legislation I've filed in the past. We're getting ready to walk into a new General Assembly here, so we're all going to be filing, new legislation, and a lot of that will be carryover legislation that wasn't successful, for a variety of reasons in prior years, and some will be new legislation. But if you look at kind of my history, you'll see that I've always been, as I always say in Springfield, like, you don't have any legislator that can be a subject matter expert in every item that comes across our desk. I mean, in one day you might be dealing with transportation, public health, education, manufacturing, and who knows what else. And so it's nice to have organizations like this that you can kind of reach out to for advice and guidance on issues a legislator may not be that focused on. So that being said, my background in business and in finance has always led me to be very focused on financial issues, state budget, taxation, fees, revenue, where does that revenue go, and also a lot of judicial issues and our court system and how it's structured, how it operates. And I think those two things have a real impact on business. I think it has a real impact on manufacturing. So I don't have any legislation in terms of tax credits or training credits, but I will be rolling out for the new session some packages that I'm hoping to have some bipartisan support on. They'll be really focused on controlling the state budget and locking in some caps on some tax increases, and also a litany of bills regarding our court system. And my focus is if you can have a more balanced court system, that's a big win for business across the state. And obviously, I think we spend way too much money in Illinois. I think we tax way too much in Illinois. Again, due to the reality of the chambers, we're not going to be slashing budgets dramatically, and we're not going to be rolling back any taxes or tax increases dramatically. In fact, you're getting ready to have your 2 new gas taxes come into effect here shortly, and the grocery tax will be coming back. I voted against all of these, but my focus will be on locking in that budget so that we have rules in place like other states, tying increase in spending to things like inflation and tying tax increases to the fiscal performance of the state. And if we can get some things in place that tie the hands of legislators in Springfield, I think that'll be a big win. So my focus is really on the fiscal side of the House and on the judicial side of the House. I'll be doing some other things as well, but if we can get a stable fiscal environment in Illinois, that's a massive win for business. And if we can clean up the courts a little bit, that's also a big win. And that's where you'll see me spend a lot of my time.
Great. Thanks, Senator. Representative Ozinga, any thoughts about any initiatives you can propose or assist with regarding through the manufacturing caucus?
Yeah, as Senator said, we're getting towards that process where we're looking for ideas and opportunities to introduce legislation to help. From my standpoint, some of the things that we're working on coming up with creative solutions for is just promoting job growth. How do we encourage, particularly in the manufacturing side, how do we encourage more skilled labor and trades? we see it on our side. We have a lot of truck drivers and other people that are, in the trades, and so I think we're seeing a situation where a lot of folks have gone the college route and other ways, and we're seeing sort of a shortage of people that actually want to do the work. And so that's something I think we want to figure out ways to address. As the senator said, like, we're in a good position in terms of budget, but we have to just make sure that things don't continue to creep in the wrong direction. And so for us as business owners, and you as business owners, I mean, consistency is the best thing. It's like, hey, we can plan and prepare for anything as long as we know what to expect. But it's when there's a lot of changes that it makes it difficult. So that's what we're hoping for. I'm looking for ideas from the members and from the association that we can introduce. And I think hopefully that there's not a lot of new ideas pushed in terms of regulation or other things. From my perspective, less government is better than more government. So we're always trying to make sure that there's not a bunch of overreach going on.
Great. Thanks, Representative. Sticking with you again, Representative, for this next question from a TMA member. Question is, with such a dominant victory for the governor and the Democrats this election, what are the chances they will bring back the progressive tax constitutional amendment in 2024? And if they do, what do you think the chances of passage will be? Representative?
That's definitely a possibility. I don't foresee that coming back again soon, but you never know. I think because we are in a healthy spot, I think with all the changes going on with inflation and supply chain and all the other issues we're facing, I don't foresee that being introduced. That was done at a time where we're facing sort of budget shortfall, and there was a lot of creative ideas that the governor was trying to come up with. And when that didn't pass, the governor threatened to do a lot of things and remove a lot of tax credits and other things that he called loopholes, but were things that helped us business owners. So I don't foresee that coming, but if it does, there's a big difference between electing candidates and these referendums that are more based on policy things. And with the grad tax getting defeated, I think it shows that, hey, people, voters and business owners, voters, everyday Illinoisans care about the pocketbook issues still. And when it's clearly defined on those issues, I think we can defeat them, as we did with the grad tax. When it's, the elections for the governor and the executive positions, as we saw, got muddied by a lot of social issues and other things that complicate the situations. But when you have something that's very specific, like a grad tax referendum, that's a potential tax increase, I think we still have the ability in Illinois to defeat those things, despite how out of whack the balance of power is. So.
Great. Thanks, Representative. Senator Plummer, any thoughts on whether they will bring back the progressive income tax amendment in 2024?
So I think you have to look at the upcoming legislative session with a little bit of a lens, and that lens is J.B. Pritzker's ambitions. The man wants to be president. He wants to go to Washington, D.C. That's just a reality. I've always said that he treats Illinois like a stepping stone, and that's why a lot of his policy orientation is short-term in nature. It's not long-term in nature, because 10 years from now, everyone on this call will be in Illinois working, running businesses, dealing with the wreckage that's been left behind, and he'll be gone. And so when I say you have to look through a lens of his ambitions, I think, he's going to be focused on trying to get out to DC, and it's probably not wise to be pushing, massive tax increases, while you're trying to build a national brand. So I don't suspect that'll come around this cycle. However, I would, caution everyone on the call that tax increases are part of the equation. Representative Ozinga earlier mentioned the Unemployment Trust Fund. The solution to that is tax increases on business. And it was completely mishandled by the administration, completely mishandled by the state of Illinois. We got a lot of one-time federal money that could have been used to resolve that issue, just like 30 some odd other states did, if not 40 some odd other states. And yet we kind of did a Band-Aid solution and a tax increase on businesses, right? And I think that's really unfortunate. So tax increases are coming. I mentioned the gas tax, grocery tax, employment trust fund will have to get solved with tax increases. I think more are coming. The state of Illinois' budget isn't as rosy as you'll see some people talk about in the media, because it's basically put together with duct tape and baling wire, which is federal money. And when that federal money disappears, we're going to have massive holes in that budget, and we're going to have some really tough conversations at how we resolve that. So I don't think the grad tax is coming back this year or next year, but I do think you'll see initiatives from the majority party to continue to raise taxes and fees on Illinoisans, and that's very problematic. And once again, that's why I try to stay very focused on the budgetary issues, because you will hear a lot of chest pounding about the budget of the state of Illinois. And let me tell you, it is only held up by federal dollars that are ending now. And we're going to be in a really, really ugly situation 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Thanks, Senator. All right, we're getting near the end, so I think we have time for one final question. We'll start with you this time, Senator Plummer. The question is, during his first 4 years, Governor Pritzker pushed through significant anti-business legislation that puts Illinois manufacturers at a disadvantage with our competitors in neighboring states. What should TMA members be concerned about most from the governor and legislators the next 4 years? Senator?
Well, I want to end the call on a positive note. That question sets me up. I'm like very brutally honest and transparent sometimes. Maybe that's not a good thing in Springfield always, but I think truth is healthy. Look, I think that we have to have organizations like this to combat a really difficult environment, right? And unfortunately, by the nature of the state that we live in and we work in, we operate in, it's a tough environment. So, I do think that we have our work cut out for us. I don't want to beat on the issues that we've talked about already. Where my focus is going to be. One other thing I want to throw out there, and I'll roll into this in a second, is I also do quite a bit of work around the community college community in Illinois, because I think that is a real something that flies below the radar, and they create a lot of, or they provide a lot of opportunities for students that go straight into that workforce, and really feed a lot of the manufacturers. I work closely. I'm more of a downstate Central Illinois guy, so I can't speak to all the Chicagoland community colleges, but we have a great network down here that are a real asset to the state. And so some of my legislation, I think, is helpful around those things and making sure you guys have a good workforce continually kind of coming into your companies. But we have things like a great community college network. We have a great workforce. If you look at our resources, whether it's natural resources, our ag community, carbon, our geographic location, our access to road, rail, river networks. If you look at our geographic location in the state, in the country overall, if you look at some of the institutions we have, we have a great state full of resources, full of assets, full of great opportunity that's been really wrecked by one thing, and that one thing is bad public policy. So, do I think there is a short-term fix to the problems that manufacturers or other businesses or just Illinoisans in general face day to day because of bad public policy? No, I don't. And I won't, lie and mislead anyone and say, oh, well, we're going to fix everything next year. It's a long-term solution, but it's a long-term solution backed up by being in a state that is tremendously blessed with all these assets and resources. And I know that, I look at other states that exist out there that would kill to have what Illinois has. We don't have to reinvent the wheel because we have everything we need. We just have to fix the policy direction of the state. And that's easy to fix, right? It's going to take time, but it's easy to fix. And Illinoisans are a very common sense group of people. And I think that they'll continue to see some degradation across the state on things like taxes, things like, cost of living, things like quality of life. And as they see that, they're going to demand policy change. And you're going to have legislators in Springfield that are ready to react to that. And so, what I think you have to look forward to, from a medium to long-term perspective, I'm talking, 6, 8, 10 years, is a change in policy. We're going to have to compete with the Indianas and the Missouris and the Iowas and the Californias and the Floridas and the Texases. And we have a great set of tools in our tool belt in Illinois to do that. We just have to change policy direction. And groups like this are going to be a very, very key component of making sure that we have that positive change. So I appreciate you all being on the call. I appreciate what you do for Illinois, and I mean that sincerely. I'm one of the few legislators that actually is a part-time legislator. I work in the environment. I feel the impact of policy direction in Illinois, and we're all kind of in this together. And stay committed, stay involved with groups like this, and we'll see positive change at the end of the road.
Thanks, Senator. Representative Ozinga, any thoughts about what TMA members should be concerned about most from the governor and legislators the next 4 years?
I'll echo what Jason said. Senator Plummer said. We're what makes this country great is competition, and we do have a competition of the states. I would agree with the senator that this isn't a short-term fix, that we have to take a long-term approach to this. And the great thing about competition is that we as individuals, as families, as business owners get to go where we're appreciated. And I think we need to continue to put pressure on the governor, on the legislature to put policy that opens things up and just provides us as business owners to have the runway to do what we do best, which is work hard and try to grow. I think we're in a situation right now where the governor is trying to offer a lot of incentives to some of these cottage industries, whether it's electric vehicles or data warehouses and other things. And some of that has been successful, which is good. But despite some of those incentives, we're still losing a lot of that business to neighboring states. And I think at some point, as Senator Plummer mentioned, the pendulum's going to have to swing back the other way. When you're trying to do everything you can and folks are still choosing a neighboring state or something like that, it's gonna wake people up, and there has to be balance restored. So as much as there's a lot of doom and gloom in Illinois, I do see these things sort of as a pendulum, and I feel like we're coming back to a backswing here, hopefully in the near future. And so I'm optimistic about it. I think, things are going to have to correct themselves. And, as Senator Plummer said, Illinois is so rich in resources and people and everything else. When you look at the Great Lakes region, we're one of the largest population centers in the entire country, and Illinois is not California or New York. We're the Midwest, and Midwest people, Midwest values, and we know how to work, and we're going to work to fix Illinois, and it's going to take a lot of hard work, but that's nothing we're not used to. So
Great. Thanks, Representative Ozinga. Well, that will do it for today's pre-session virtual briefing. I want to thank Senator Jason Plummer and Representative Tim Ozinga for joining us today, along with TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin for leading a wonderful discussion. And of course, we want to thank all of our TMA members who took time out of their day to join us today. So thanks everyone again. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, a great holiday, and we'll see you next year. Goodbye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.